stopping to do.
You should have put it out.
You're gonna be close back
I've been shopping for my screens, my angels. Now I gotta shop for people that belong to me. They got put on the back burner.
Figure it out. Right? It's more fruit every week. I mean, both they be I can spread out today.
Did everybody out? No, I'll see. You come to the restaurant.
What's coordination? You tried to explain it. They tried to explain it.
And that's what I used to hear when I say it's so good. It's thank you.
Straight line. The whole point is just a straight line. We don't mix and match here.
Tell John I see it. Wait, it's like, y'all know it's like Saved by the Bell. You watched Saved by the Bell?
I did.
It was funny.
Why are we talking about AC?
Steve Slater, get to the desk. It ain't you, right? See, Larry? We're going to call the December 19th board meeting for the Hamilton County Department of Education to order. Beginning with the approval of the agenda.
Need a roll call.
Oh, that's
Madam
right.
Chair.
Yes, I'm ready to go, Anna Steve. Sorry. Roll call.
Chairman Smith, Mrs. Black,
Here.
Mr. Connor,
Here.
Mr. Doherty,
Here.
Mr. Groan,
Here.
Mrs. Haddon,
Here.
Mrs. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Keene,
Here.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Here.
Mr. Slater,
Here.
Ms. Thomas,
Here.
Superintendent Dr. Robertson.
Here.
Next, we have the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I need to note that there's an addendum or an amendment offered for the agenda tonight involving item 7D as in David 4. That item is on the agenda, but there's an updated exhibit to go with that based on county commission action that took place yesterday.
Okay. So, item 7D4, acceptance of revised federal ARPA funds for Hamilton County Board of Commissioners.
That's correct.
Okay.
Need a motion and a second as amended to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ready?
Move, yeah, roll call.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon,
Yes.
Mr. Keene,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones.
Yes. Okay. Before we move any further with our agenda, I felt that, spoke with Superintendent Robertson, and I felt that we would be in ultimate remiss if we did not take time to acknowledge the life and the legacy of Dr. Carol Burrs, Councilwoman for District 6 and for the city of Chattanooga. The city of Chattanooga lost Dr. Burrs on last Wednesday. If anybody has been around Chattanooga for any significant amount of time, you are probably keenly aware of who and what type of force Dr. Carol Burrs was. And so Carol was a colleague, she was a friend, I met Carol Burrs as a young social worker. She's a social worker. Y'all didn't know that, but I met her as a young social worker, fresh out of college, coming back home to work. And the wisdom that she imparted in my life, and I know many others across this city and this county and this region and this country, from that time forth, is just irreplaceable. Carol has left a footprint that we can never step into, but we will never forget. And I just wanted to take the time to acknowledge her. Carol spent 16 years on Chattanooga City Council representing District 6, and I would have to say, by representing District 5, I have several schools that are in the City Council District of 6, and I could always count on Carol to support those schools. Tyner Academy, Tyner Middle, Bestie Shepherd, Barger. She was always a staunch supporter of those students in those schools, the arts and culture and enrichment of the students in those schools and their families. And I just wanted for us to just take a moment to reflect on her life. And everybody keeps bringing this up. This is how you know Carol. Carol would always, in leadership, in any facet, be it women's conference, be it city council, social working, mediation, whatever, all of her peers are stating this, and I remember hearing her say this for countless years. She would always ask people when they were advocating to her about an issue that was a concern to them or wanting to show why something, there was something she should be advocating for, she would always say, what does yes look like? She would always ask that question. And so I just want to remind those of us that sit at this dais and those of us out there in the audience, as you go about your life and you're doing things for the greater good of our community, always think to yourself or ask your peers, what does yes look like, and how can your yes be the difference in someone's life? Because that's what Carol Burrs did. So if you don't mind, at this time, we take a moment of silence for Dr. Burrs. Thank you. Next, we have the pledge to the flag. Oh, no, we have no executive session. So next, we have a pledge to the flag and meditation by District 5's own Dr. Crystal Sorrells, Brainerd High School.
Good evening, everyone. If you would please stand with me for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you. So our board members, you may have a familiar image in front of you. Does that look familiar?
Up on the bar.
Up on the bar there.
Oh, it's like this.
Looks like that.
Oh, okay.
Look familiar?
Yeah.
The Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Take a moment and reflect on the humble Charlie Brown Christmas tree. It's small, imperfect, and often overlooked, yet it stands as a symbol of hope and transformation. For students, families, and some communities who may not feel as fortunate during this holiday season, the tree reminds us that beauty and joy can come from within, even in the simplest of things. Like that tree, you have a unique value that isn't determined by material possessions or outward appearances. The holiday season is about love, kindness, and the connections that we share. Even if the world feels heavy, know that your presence brings light to others. Take pride in your resilience and cherish the small moments that make the season special. A kind word, a warm hug, or the peace of quiet reflection. Just like that little tree, you have the power to bring meaning and warmth to the world around you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have exemplars of excellence, recognition of CSAS Energy Grant winning team. Dr. Shane Hartwood.
Thank you. Board members, Dr. Robertson, appreciate the opportunity to be here to recognize what was going to be a larger group, we tried to time this at the break because we had seniors that have gone off to college, and I don't know if we gave them the wrong address or what we did, but they are not here. But what we do have is Jennifer Mitchell, who is currently assistant principal at East Ridge High School, and then we have Dr. Kristen Carlisle, who's assistant principal at CSAS Upper. Ms. Mitchell is here because she was one of 2 teacher representatives that actually kind of coordinated with this group of 5 students to pursue a TVA energy grant. That grant is a very prestigious, hard to attain grant. A lot of work goes into that, and that group of kids, with the help of their teacher leader and the school support, were able to secure a grant of over $400,000 to go towards energy efficiency at CSAS Upper. So would you like to share a couple of the things that they did with that grant or are doing?
So we had to, each course we had to actually qualify for. So at the very beginning, when we first started it, it was, okay, if you get across this level right here, you get, say, $10,000. And so we kept progressing. He was very reluctant at first to work with us because he was like, well, because I told him every time we have a meeting, I'm going to have the kids there. And he was like, well, no, this meeting is just for me and you to just kind of touch base. I said, well, that's not going to work for me. I'm too busy. I'm going to have my kids there. They're going to have to answer your questions. They'll update you as far as how we're working through the program and what all we're going to be doing to educate our staff and educate the students there, and telling you what programs we're going to do. And then we also had to like update our light bills and all of our energy bills to show that all of our bills were decreasing at the time. And so after like the second meeting, he was like, okay, so I understand what you mean now when you say work with the kids, because they're all hands on deck. They helped write the grant. All me and Ms. Davis did was like proofread the grant at the end just to make sure that everything was in there that needed to be in there. They're the ones that like did the trips around the building, measuring different items. They also did a lot of the paperwork. They coordinated a whole day K through 12 with energy. And I mean, it was from the second the kids hit the door to the second they left. They had a whole full day of activities, learning about energy, how they can be more energy proficient at home and taking it back to their families as well. And so we qualified each level. I think it was like 4 levels in all, and we had to write another grant towards the very end to get the final, the $400,000, and then plus our many steps along the way, we also got awarded a couple of other ones as well.
So if I may, like I said, these students are not here, or former students are not here, but I just want to call them by name. Karen Lynn, who is currently attending University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Arav Patel and Rithvik Sidenki are both at Purdue University. Hetvi Patel is at Alabama Birmingham, and Sullivan Smith is at Davidson. So again, just speaks to the preparation that we give kids in Hamilton County and the things that they do beyond our K-12 system. And so again, just if you'll share in some appreciation for CSAS and what they've done for this grant, we appreciate all that they've done. Thank you.
Mr. King?
Yeah, could we pass their names on to Greg Higgins? He might want to jot those down.
Oh, trust me, we did a lot of meetings with Greg Higgins. He already knows.
Thank you.
No, I got it.
Thank you.
Recognition of state champions and TSSAA award winners.
It's one of my favorite parts of my job is to get here and come up and kind of brag on the accomplishments of the kids that we have in Hamilton County, but not just the kids, the adults as well. We're here tonight. First order of recognition is going to be the repeating girls state champion cross-country team from Signal Mountain. Before I introduce their team members, I want to tell you this is the 10th girls state championship in cross-country from Signal Mountain, and their head coach, Dustin Carpenter. This is his 17th state championship in track and field, between track and field and cross country. So we're going to go ahead and introduce these team members and this awesome coaching staff. So the principal of Signal Mountain High School is Mr. Michael Carson. Their athletic director is Mr. Brian Beasley. The head coach is Dustin Carpenter, and their assistant coach is Maddie Livingston, who is actually a returning coach who ran at Signal Mountain High School and was a state champion on a state championship team there. So she has returned to Roost to help continue the tradition. Team members are Miss Hannah Larimore, Maxine Richards, Ada Boyd, Naomi Malone, Lily Paxson, Aubrey Lynch, Callaway Wheeler, and Mackenzie Lockery. So, guys, thank you so much for representing Hamilton County. We can get a photo opportunity with Mr. Daugherty here. And so you guys will just walk up here. real quick.
If you all could,
Okay.
Come,
Yeah,
they'll take the
Go
picture.
shake everybody's
Oh, you
hand
wanna-
all the way through. Ladies, sorry about that.
and then you'll,
Coach, you should know how to do this.
Coach, rumor has it you drop them off at the bottom of the W road and make them run back up.
Congratulations. Congrats. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Great group it looks like you got there too.
I'm holding up the line.
Yeah, you holding up the line.
Awesome job. Good job.
Let's give them a round of applause. The next set of awards are the AF Bridges Award that are given annually by the Tennessee Secondary Athletic Schools Administration or Association. These awards recognize individuals and schools that demonstrate exceptional sportsmanship and citizenships through their athletic programs. So Hamilton County has 3 recipients this year. We have one, which is a school award to CSLA. The principal there is Miss Crystal Scarborough. Their athletic director is Wes Castle. Have a couple of young men present. If you guys want to come forward with your trophy, Mr. Castle. The AF Bridges School Award is very difficult to get. You can have no unsportsmanlike ejections throughout a school year. Officials have to give good recommendations based on your players and your coaches' behavior. So we have Ben Hopper and Omar Elletter that are going to just say a couple of words here real quick for you guys. And congratulations to CSLA, so setting the example of sportsmanship in Hamilton County Schools. So congratulations to you guys. Want to say something real quick?
Thank you, school board members, for recognizing CSLA's accomplishment in receiving the AF Bridges Award. Part of our code of conduct at CSLA is respecting ourselves and others. As students of CSLA, we know the code and strive to live by it in all that we do.
This award was given to only 3 high schools in the entire state. We were the top recipient for the East Division. This award was presented to CSLA at the TSSAA regional meetings in November. It is given in recognition of the high ideals of ethics and integrity in the teaching and promotion of citizenship and sportsmanship. We are so proud to have been honored by the state. Thank you.
So guys, we'll just kind of walk down, shake everybody's hand, and we'll get a quick picture with you.
and correction, CSLA is in District 5, not 9.
Only for a short time.
Congratulations.
For the next 10 years.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Soar Eagles.
Sorry about that Ron Griffith for that, Ms. Mosley. All right, congratulations, guys. Job well done. Next award, we have a female coach of the year from the Eastern Division. She is from Soddy Daisy High School. She was softball coach. Principal is Angie Cass there. The athletic director is Jared Hensley. They're present here. Coach Nunley is one of the finest coaches in the state. She set the example for sportsmanship. Our girls played, I tell you, anytime you want to watch a softball team get after it, play hard, but play respectfully, I would suggest you go up and watch the girls at Saudi Daisy High School play. It's truly a pleasure to watch how she led her team last year. And fortunately, I think she's going to go play mom for a while. But the AF Bridges Sportsmanship Award this year goes to Female Coach of the Year, goes to Miss Kelsey Nunley Moore. Get your picture made, and I'll give you your box.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Come back anytime, you know.
Steve? Oh, he-
Do you want me to take it?
The last award is the System Administrator of the Year award. I want to speak about Dr. Robertson. I'm going to embarrass him here for a minute. I was very fortunate to take this role 2.5, going on almost 3 years ago now, and I've been in Hamilton County schools on and off for 34 years. I've seen more advancement toward athletics in the past 3 years than I had along the way. I think Dr. Robertson has a true commitment to educational-based athletics and is a proponent of all the things that it does for our student athletes. So he was nominated and elected as the East Regional System Administrator of the Year. So without further ado, Dr. Justin Robertson, come on up and get your award. We have to get a picture out. Okay, that sounds great.
Hey, I do want to say this with Tim here. This is more a reflection of Tim and the work that he does under Robert Sharp. I'll give you a quick stat. So in fall of 2023, we had 32 ejections across Hamilton County, which, if you think about all the athletes, that's really not that bad. This fall, we've had 8. And it's because of the work that Tim does to promote sportsmanship, to make sure our coaches are trained, to make sure that they are setting the values and ideals of this district. So I will accept this, but it's really on behalf of Tim and his team, so thank you.
He needs to start down at the line there.
We'll do it after the evaluation.
Did they give him awards before the evaluations came out?
We hope to, I appreciate your time. I really hope to be back here probably in February with a couple more state champions under our belt. I know Saudi Daisy is raring to go again in wrestling, so hopefully we can have a repeat there. So guys, thank you for your time. I hope you have a blessed evening.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. James, could I ask one quick question?
Yes, sir.
Women's flag football, I know we're getting some press on that. Is there a push to have that as a statewide sport?
It's called an emerging sport. It is recognized by TWSAA, and actually when I leave here, I'm going to the county championship game at CSLA tonight.
And
versus Saudi Daisy.
in first place right now?
Saudi Daisy
Okay.
is. Yep. Saudi Daisy.
Just
and-
wait on it. Just wait on it, Steve. They got a nice new field up there. They're
I'm
gonna
going to leave
beat
you
on
guys
it.
with the rivalry there, so have a great evening.
You know what? Moving right along. Board member disclaimer statement.
Does not apply.
Does not apply.
Does not apply.
Does not apply?
Does not apply.
I declare that I have a family member who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget policies, etc., may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
Does not apply.
Does not apply.
All right. Approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve?
Second.
Roll call. Oh,
Yeah, is
discussion.
any discussion or anything to be pulled?
Any discussion? Mr. Daughtery?
Thank you. Just one quick question, and I apologize. I wish I'd had an opportunity to talk about this in advance. The approved single source software contract with ICIMS for talent applicant tracking software, and I apologize again, just for my own understanding, what's going on with that?
Do we need to pull that and?
Is your intention to discuss?
You want to discuss it?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you can pull it.
Let's pull that.
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay. So he's pulling item
D1A.
D1A, right? Any other items pulled for discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Hatton,
Yes.
Mr. Keen,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Doherty, I'm going to ask Dr. Brown to come up. iSIMS is one of our HR softwares mainly used for recruiting, but he's going to be much more familiar with it than I would, so I ask him to.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So iSIMS is our applicant tracking system, and so if you ever, just the short version, if you ever go to our website, that's the first way that any candidate engages with HCS, right? So our talent acquisition team with our recruiters, it's the platform where folks just, when they inquire about jobs that we have, and so that's the way they apply. iSIMS is a robust system where it allows easy application process through mobile devices. It allows us to not only track candidates in the sense to, coordinate and communicate with them, but it also houses all of our onboarding materials. And so when it comes to offer letters, when we're hiring, making sure we're getting our, W-2s, or our bank drafts, our criminal background checks, it's the robust system that takes care of everything from point of entry to get the teacher in the classroom or any of our staff members. There is also another component with iSIMS versus some other applicant tracking systems. It's really all about the employee experience, and that's the main thing, the candidate experience, right? You want to make sure you have a platform that's easy to use, that's easy on the eyes, that the aesthetics is great, and so we've had great success with iSIMS. There's a document in your packet that I just want to give you some benchmarks. So, last 3-4 years we've been able to maintain a 97% fill rate. This past year we had a 99% fill rate for our classrooms. In turn, that's because of iSIMS, right? It allows us and our recruiters to make sure that we're doing a great job communicating with our candidates, and so it's time to renew. We've been very pleased with iSIMS. They're great partners, but the easy answer is that we want to maintain a 99% fill rate.
So it's just a renewal of the contract?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, okay. Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Dr. Brown, do you know off the top of your head, I think it's a good number, like how many transactions this spring you anticipate your team will do through?
So we'll have approximately 300, 320 new teachers, but we'll also hire around 450 teachers altogether. And that's just teachers that's coming into the system. But of course, in our district, we allow all of our teachers to have an internal transfer. And so we're now starting that process where, if I work at Red Bank, I want to go to another school for whatever reason, we allow our teachers to apply. And so that's another transaction. And then iSIMS allows us to move a teacher from one school to another school. So we'll have upwards of 3,000 transactions when it's all said and done, when you think about our classified staff as well as our certified staff. Part-time employees, school nutrition uses the platform as well as childcare, et cetera.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Brown.
You need a motion to place it back on the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Motion to approve it. Back on the agenda. Motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones.
Yes. Okay. Now, we're moving on to board matters, or that's what I thought. Okay. Board matters, Chief Operations Officer Robert Sharp, consideration of bond-funded capital projects and FY '25 budget amendment, self-funded.
This is the first phase of that $60 million in deferred maintenance bond. And you should have received a call and talked through majority of this, but you can see the projects there. Vast majority of them are projects that have been deferred for years in terms of HVAC systems, roofs, boilers, things of that nature. You're also going to see a couple of things that we know that we need to do from a safety and athletic standpoint. And so these hit all across the district. Again, this is the first wave. Understand that this is a robust amount of work. So I was talking to Dr. Sharp today, talking to Justin Witt earlier. We expect to get a lot of this done internally, but there are also portions of it that will be contracted out, and we'll give you an update as we go throughout this process.
Need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon,
Yes.
Mr. Keen,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones.
Yes. Item B, Chief, this is submitted by the Chief Strategy Officer, Shannon Moody, consideration of 2025 legislative agenda. You have copies of this in your packet as well. Any discussion?
Yeah, I like this stuff.
Go ahead.
Motion.
Oh, motion.
Any motion?
I need a motion.
Move to approve the legislative agenda.
That's right.
Second.
Discussion. Discussion. Mr. Dowd?
Put a motion or go ahead?
No, they motion, second, discussion now. Go ahead.
Go ahead, okay. Ben, I know you've got a tough situation, right? I mean, you've got to relay what's happening with the legislative, with what's occurring here in the county, and I think you do a great job of that, from what I can gather. You know, we've got effectively, for anybody not aware, there's 6 topics of discussion that are included in this, and may I see this for a second, Gary? And I agree with almost all of them, but where I have some challenges is in 2 and 3. Primarily within 2, I think it's important to note that when we switched from the previous funding model to TISA, we got around 64 million more than we had previously. So exponential increase in terms of our total funding from the state of Tennessee. So where I have, and this is just my personal opinion, where I have a little issue is effectively what we're saying is, hey, we need an open checkbook. If there was a number, then I can totally understand that. And if it was validated with the fact that, hey, we've had a headcount increase of 15%, we feel we need 15% more additional funding, but we all can agree that our enrollment has been relatively flat. There's been some slight fluctuations, but for the most part, it's stayed where it is relatively. And then 3, I love the idea of the state taking on the funding of the SSOs and the SRO program entirely. That would free up a massive line item from us, and we could happily apply that to teacher salaries. Where I have a little challenge as well is the second paragraph where we talk about additional funding for mental health, and I'll be the first to tell you mental health is incredibly important. But where I have issues is we've got roofs with leaks in it. We've got AC units that need massive updates. If we're going to be asking for additional funding, I feel like we should be applying it to things that we really need from a maintenance perspective. The other thing too is a lot of schools, I can't speak of everybody, with my school, there's not enough space to put more staff. I mean, you take, for example, Thrasher, we've got teachers and staff in hallways and closets. Schools weren't built to have more and more staff, so that's another consideration as well. So I just wanted to voice it, and I wanted to thank you again, Ben, for doing what you're doing, because I know it's tough. But I just wanted to hear on that. Those are really the only two things that I have. Just wanted to be vocal about my positions on.
So please, as the chair, would you like me to address each individually or wait and do collectively? Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Felice?
Okay, one of the issues I have, because people might not be aware, there's one real popular topic on here, but there are actually 6 sections and 6 topics in this legislative agenda, and so we would be voting to approve all 6 of them. And I'm uncomfortable with, as a former teacher who took the praxis test to be certified to teach secondary mathematics. I agree with the part as far as reciprocity between states. If someone's certified in one state and has a great, history, track record, that allow them to be certified in our state without a praxis. But for secondary licensure, I still think to be certified in math, they need to take the praxis test. But they could still, be a certified teacher in their first subject that they were certified in, and still be able to teach math on a provisional license, and they actually have multiple opportunities, which many people take, to pass the praxis test. So, I just, that's the issue, one of the main issues I have. And just for clarification too, we actually discussed these issues in our policy meeting last week.
Mr. King?
So I guess my question is, when we vote on this, are we voting on all 6 as a yes or a no? Or can we separate them out?
So please, as the chair, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the idea, Gary, to answer your direct question, is that it's better to have it on one page. The reason for that is there's a lot going on in our lives. There's a lot more going on in the lives of the men and women that represent us, and there's not a lot of time to waste when you're there. So it's a lot easier to put a single document in front of them, and then beyond that, as you all know, as I did last year, I go through and make more notes and talk about the things, specifically costs, like Mr. Doherty was talking about. And number 2, there would be listing out of, this is what it costs to educate a child in this situation, and this is how much we're funded right now. So let's just, for instance, as was mentioned earlier, it costs around $40,000 to educate a child of certain needs. And TISA right now has the funding at like $5,000. So what would be listed in my further notes would be details, not opinion by any means, just details of what this means. Like, here's where we're funded on ULN 9, and here's where it needs to be funded in order to educate a child. I think that answers the first part. So yes, it is supposed to go as one. Right. We've not done it before, and in all of my other practice, I've never seen anybody do it out unless, and I want to be very clear, there absolutely have been resolutions. As former board member Lennon mentioned, there's been 86 different counties that have just done a resolution against vouchers, but in their legislative agendas, they still do have it listed as one of the items.
And I'd like to bring up, just so the public knows, when we vote on this, item number 1, which involves a very popular topic. We've received 30 to 50 emails and phone calls and that. The state voucher system. This is stating that we are against the vouchers, but that would be a yes vote. So when we say yes, we are not voting for vouchers. We are voting against vouchers by saying, yes, we will support no vouchers. I just want to make that clear to the public.
It's an excellent note, and you are absolutely correct. As it is written, and again, actually, I tell you what, so please, as chair, I'd like to read 1, because that's one of the ones that has changed drastically. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read 6. This is a document that is available online if you're following our agenda. But in our policy meeting, which Ms. Schaefer was so kind to allow me to do the legislative part at the end, we did read them in full. So number 1 and number 6 are the ones I'll read out loud again. Number 1, Tennessee state policy on school vouchers, the Hamilton County Board of Education strongly urges the General Assembly not to expand the voucher program in any way and to fully evaluate its current pilot for effectiveness, as it has not demonstrated improved student outcomes. The board recommends retaining current limitations of the pilot program to evaluate the effectiveness, including 200% poverty level income eligibility and prior public school attendance, and to include holding private schools and homeschool programs accepting vouchers to the same accountability standards as public schools. This includes TCAP, TN Ready, school letter grades, and TVOS scores, with results made publicly available to help families make informed decisions. Many of our speakers spoke to these exact items, which is why we wanted to make sure that we retained them. I know that Chair Smith was very big on making sure that we said these things, because last year our conversation line was a whole bunch of, this was supposed to be a 5-year pilot program. We're literally in the 2nd year. How can we discern whether or not we've done anything, let alone a good job? But through all of the numbers that we've been seeing, and through all of, it seems like the vast majority of our constituents, based off all the things you just referenced, and my counterpart's poll on his social media is mine as well, it's not something our community wants. So that's why I think that it's important that we have written it, as Gary said, yes, we are against it, but at least keep the guardrails on that we're talking about. Number 6, advocate for fully funded federal programs. The Hamilton County the Hamilton County Board of Education urges federal legislators to fully fund Title I. Someone very loud outside the door, I'm sorry. To fully fund Title I in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. Enhanced Title I funding would provide critical resources to support students living in poverty, address disparities, and promote educational opportunity. Fully funding IDEA is essential to fulfill the federal commitment to students with disabilities, increasing per pupil support and reducing financial strain on local school systems. Additionally, IDEA amendments should prioritize improving collaboration between schools and parents, simplifying processes, making dispute resolution less adversarial and less expensive, and ensuring individual plans effectively meet the needs of all students. These measures will advance access to support student success. So a lot of wording was dropped off, as Ms. Schaefer and a few of my colleagues had asked for. And again, to stay out loud, IDEA currently is funded at 14% of what the budget is for it. So the last time that we saw even close to 40% funding for this was during COVID, and it helped a lot. It really did. It made a lot of supports for our children that were there, and saw a lot of great success stories because of it, which is why I'm glad that we were able to change the wording but keep this item on there. So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll keep going for just a moment and finish out this. So to address Mr. Doherty's conversation in the second one, I definitely agree that we have a multitude of things that we need for our schools. We just voted on a very large facilities spend, but I would continue to say that the first part is, yes, I hope that we can continue a partnership, absolutely. Second part is, I just have to keep saying that when we feed and care about these kids, we tend to see better outcomes, and specifically through our SSOs. There's less interactions of negative with a child that is fed and has the mental support that they need in schools. So while they can't do any of that if the roof is falling in on them, I would have to argue that we do need both. And so we've got to find the line between the two, would be my opinion on it. And again, that's a great place for me to say my opinion. You all are going to hear me arguing what I feel like should be on here. But whatever this board passes is what I will take to our legislators. So I have to argue for what District 6 wants. I have to argue for my personal convictions of what I think is best for our children. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take what you guys vote for to our legislators.
And I do appreciate you as well, for how diligent you are in getting this together and how passionate you are about this.
We need a motion and a second. We actually called for the question. All right, there was a discussion.
If that's closing the discussion, I do want to say one quick thank you too. This is not possible without Shannon and Rachel's help. It looks pretty and it's well, my thoughts are well written because of them. So, thank you.
I do have one related comment. I do a lot of research, and the Annenberg Institute went into Metro Nashville and did a 3-year study on their expanded tutoring program. So when we talk about advocate for fully funded federal programs, this district, they found evidence in this study of only a small to medium average positive effect on students' reading scores, but no average effects on math scores or course grades in either subject. And they say this might be that it's a limited treatment control contrast because it's only 3 years, a modest program duration, in other words, maybe 4 to 6 weeks in the summer isn't long enough, and miscalibrated expectations of tutoring effects at scale. So I'm not a big advocate of federal programs that don't work. So we'll just have to wait and see how that's going to play out, but I just wanted to throw that in.
So, Mr. Connor.
Yes, ma'am. So, and forgive me, I said we were done and I did not answer Felice's, so I need to come back to talking about the praxis. But to respond to Mr. Groen, the first thing that I should say is IDEA has exclusively, other than the years of COVID, been funded around 14%. I would love to see that 3-year study with it funded even at 70%. You know, I don't think we can accurately study something that's never been funded. But thank you, because you did bring me up into another great point. That one is, I appreciate your help. That one is definitely more of something that I would be bringing to our legislative team on Capitol Hill in DC. And so this is something that's going to be going to our senators, Mr. Fleischman, other people that would be adding more money to IDEA at the federal level. So that's a great note there. Although it's something obviously that can be talked about with our local legislative body, and hopefully they could help us also to advocate for the proper funding amounts through what they've budgeted. But thank you. And Dr. Robertson, I would love to pipe in here because this is something that obviously we've talked about it a whole bunch and on this dais as well. But I'd like to add a little bit more insight because I want to make sure Felice's comment is correct. Like we want to make sure that we are having the best. We said that a couple times tonight. The best. We want to have the best teachers that we can available that have proven their worth through whatever model we have available, which right now is the praxis testing. So, if I'm not mistaken, what we're saying is we are allowing people to move into different practices and/or come from different states before that testing is done, but that is still something that's necessary down the road.
So a couple of things being said here. One, I think recognizing that Tennessee has some of the highest bars for praxis scores. Like it's not the same across states. So what we're saying is look at what other states are doing and consider, especially in high needs areas, of being more in line with the industry standard on the cut score. So that's one.
Okay, maybe just the score itself.
Yeah.
Not eliminating it.
Right, and then the second one is saying for a currently, so if you don't mind, I'll use yourself, right?
That's okay.
You know, if a math teacher wanted to become also certified in exceptional ed into their career, that's an experienced teacher. You could look at alternative pathways other than the praxis, right? The coursework, evaluation scores, performance on other types of things, just to provide, again, when you look across what other states are doing, there are many options available to teachers to get those certifications.
Essentially like the teacher took an AP class and they had their college credits that they took with them. Okay.
Can I make a comment?
And one comment I was going to make before too is we actually started the school year 99% of certified positions staffed, which was 4% above our goal. So we commended Dr. Robertson, but I want to commend you too, Dr. Brown, for your work in that. So that's a great achievement.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the legislative agenda.
We already have a motion and
It's
a
already on
second.
there, so
Gary calls for the question.
roll call.
Mrs. Black.
Wait, I'm sorry. What are we actually voting on it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure.
So for clarity, we're voting on the document as it is. Okay, everybody hear me? So for full clarity, we're voting on the legislative agenda document as it is, with these 6 key points on it, okay? Call for the question.
Mrs. Black.
Yes.
Mr. Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Doherty.
Abstain.
Mr. Groan.
Although there are things on here that I can nitpick about, I know that this is all a project in motion, as you've seen by, if you're up there looking at committees and meetings. So I know you and maybe some other of us will be working with our local representatives and making sure we have our input. So for the entire board up here, I think it's important that we speak to those representatives and continue to be actively involved in this. I'm going to vote yes.
Mrs. Haddon.
I'll say I'm not an advocate of school vouchers, but I'm going to say no.
You vote no?
That's fine.
Okay. Mr. Keene.
And I just want to, District 9, the yes is for no vouchers, yes.
Mrs. Schaefer.
No.
Mr. Slater.
I ran an unofficial poll in District 1, and it was 85% of the people said no vouchers, so yes.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones.
Yes.
7 in favor, 2 opposed, and 1 abstention, Madam Chair.
It passes. Okay, last item on the agenda, moving closer to the last item on the agenda, is the discussion of the superintendent's evaluation. Everyone that is a member of this board completed an evaluation on Dr. Robertson. We submitted that information. It is public record. We have copies of it. Yeah, you have copies of it in your folders, copies of it in your email. And you should have your copy. It's a packet. The packet that's in our folder has, it's a cumulative report of all. I just would like to say to Dr. Robertson, I tell you this all the time, I would never want your job. Ever, ever, never, ever, ever. I've said this to every superintendent I've worked with. Being the superintendent and the director of schools is one of the most rewarding, my opinion, one of the most rewarding for one of the most grueling jobs that you can ever have, because you are giving an account for 40,000 plus children and all the adults that come along with them and everybody else who got an opinion. And so I would like to tell you that I know that your job is a very difficult job, but I am very thankful for the work that you do, the commitment that you make to trying to do your best at all times. And I will continue to say, whether we agree or disagree on anything, that, and I'll stand on the mountaintops about this, I know Dr. Justin Robertson to be a great human. And so I thank you for the work that you do here in Hamilton County Schools. because we know, probably other than Casey and your family, we probably are the only ones that know what you really go through in your team, what you really go through on a daily basis. So thank you for all that you do. And that's the only discussion that I have.
Madam Chair, can I just say, thank you to the board. I said this last year and we talked about it as a team, kind of say it tongue in cheek, but it's true that, feedback is a gift, and I appreciate the board putting time into this to provide me, feedback on how to get better. I know that for many of you, we just started working together and it was probably awkward and difficult to fill this out, but I appreciate the input. Look forward to the work moving forward, and more importantly, to say thank you to this team. You see it every night when we come together in places like this where we're talking about HR, talking about athletics, we're talking about learning and leadership, but it's a difficult job, but it's much easier when you have an incredible team around you, and we've got a great team here in Hamilton County. I'm really proud of the work that they're doing, and again, thank you for the board for the opportunity, but also for the feedback that helps us and me, more importantly, get better. So thank you.
Thank you. So we have a list of people that are want to talk. So we got the B's, B and D to B and C. That's the order, okay? B and D, B and C, police, and
I'm sorry.
okay. So I got B and D, B and C, Steve Slater, and Jackie. That's the order. Y'all gonna remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm last.
To just echo the sentiments of my colleague, I think they're the two and I say this, the two probably hardest jobs is the head coach of an SEC football program and the superintendent of a county school system. Justin, I want you to know that I appreciate what you're doing, and I feel like you've got the right heart, you've got the right approach. The disadvantage you had with this is you had several new board members join without really getting to know you. So while my grade was not as high as some of the others, I just want you to know, man to man, that I think you're doing a good job, and I look forward to working for you the rest of my term.
B and C.
I'm glad you guys got all the glowing out of the way so I can rake it over the coals. I've referenced the 1 minute manager before, and I think the idea is that you put the bad stuff in the middle. So let me start by saying my number one, I wanted to reference a couple of 5s and one lower point. So I gave him a 5 for school leadership. I in my district, I walk in and the people that are leading those schools just want to run through brick walls for the team, for the kids, and it shows. And they come, when we do our Red Bank Way meetings and talk about the pathways to high school, it shows when they come out of a PD day, and they're proud and they're happy and they're wanting to talk about things that have been discussed there, good or bad, but ways that we can implement them or questions that they have. So that's huge. We'll do one more. We'll do the bad one now. So, developing a comprehensive building plan. Yeah, obviously, there have been a lot of struggles, hiccups. There have been, District 6 has had a lot of moving parts that we've tried a lot of different ways to satisfy the public and still do what's right for the children and for the school buildings in the way that we're funded. I held on to mine for a little while. This one was, this number changed at the 11th hour, and a lot of it has to do with this document that the superintendent just put before us that's on the record of making sure that we're doing right by our schools, like making sure that we knew that there were schools on here that needed to be looked at to make sure that we're doing the right thing by them. And obviously, Norwell Park's one of them. There's other schools in District 6 that will need things too, but that's why that was raised, why it was low to begin with. Talking about the graduation rate and the increased number of students who graduate with post-secondary, I think it was awesome that Miss Lind and her son came up here to talk about opportunities. We're talking about a 6th grader who's thinking about post-secondary and jobs that they can do. Like, there's no reason that that's not like on here. I did make his a little bit lower on that because I think that we still have some opportunities there. We need to figure out what we're doing with the Gateway building for CTE and things of that nature. But talking just about graduation rate with CCA at 100% and Red Bank High School having the greatest graduation rate they've had since they've been a high school. That's huge. That's awesome. It speaks to your leadership and it speaks to the leadership at the schools. So thank you. And I'll finish by just saying, my counterpart, my fellow Ben, talking about the budget in a transparent manner. It's not just talking about the budget. The reason that this is so high is that you fight for us, to the county commission, to the people that need you. You go out and you fight for the kids, you fight for the students, you fight for the facilities, and you make sure that it's clear and present and explained to each one of us, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Jackie? Steve. Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah, you
Steve.
forgot me.
Yes, Steve, Jackie.
I want to second what Caritza said about Dr. Robertson. He's always available, and if he's busy, he always calls me back or texts me back, and I appreciate that. And like she said, I wouldn't have that job for $1 million. It's unbelievable. People don't understand. And being new on the board, I found out. So I just appreciate what you do.
Ms. Thomas?
I think I kind of said this a little bit before when I look at my evaluation and Dr. Robertson in being fair, trying to look at everything from when I came, which is 90 days ago. But I think as a new board member, we are asked to look at a plan that was created before we came, and to also the plan that even exceeds our 4 years that we may or may not be here. So in doing that and discussing this, I do feel that Hamilton County Schools are exactly where, at minimum, I would say we are where we should be. However, I think that in fairness to you or any superintendent, a policy change needs to occur in which it's just a date needs to be given. 23-24 school year, we were not a part of this, and it is not fair for us, honestly, in my opinion, to even evaluate you, because we have not had the opportunity to know you or even to learn the process of the school system, in my opinion. So I would, and I think I've kind of said this before, the policy on evaluating the superintendents needs to occur before August the 1st of every year versus December, because that gives the outgoing board the opportunity to evaluate the superintendent, because they've had that school year to look at and be able to do all of that, versus a new coming board doing it and not, in my opinion, really being as fair as possible. So I just wanted to say that, and that's how I feel about it.
Ms. Jones, can I say, you and I talked about this earlier, so I just kind of want to, confirm what Ms. Thomas said. I think it is a difficult time to provide an evaluation. I'm not opposed to looking at, even a May, June, end of school year, just with the understanding that many of the data points would have to be lag data points, because we don't get it back until, sometimes November. The way the policy is written now is it's a month after we get the last data point back. So we can definitely look at the dates. I don't know, Mr. Bennett, if you're, like I said, something wrong, you're looking at me weird.
I'm smirking because we've talked about changing when we do the evaluation for the superintendent now for 30 years.
Absolutely.
Well,
T and I've been.
it's always been.
But I do.
It hasn't always been during this time frame. My point here is there's never a good time to evaluate the superintendent, because there's always something that's about to happen, or there's something that just happened, or we've had an election. And so what this board decided to do several years ago was to try to tie his evaluation to when you were getting your hard data back, so that it could inform the board's decision towards the budget. As Ms. Schaefer pointed out at the work session a week or so ago, one of the most important things that the board does is it develops the budget, which is the way that you speak your policies into operation. And so if there's an issue that you have with his performance, then you look and see, well, is there a problem with the system? Are we not appropriately staffing this need? or are we not appropriately leveraging this department? And then that informs this board as you're going into budget season. But to Ms. Thomas's point, it does sometimes leave new board members at a somewhat disadvantage as you're coming in. But on the other side of that coin, maybe you were elected to the board because your constituents had strong feelings about how the superintendent was doing. So we can move this around, and we have before, but there's really never a great time where it's tied up to either getting test scores back from the state or making budgeting decisions or doing whatever else. So you just pick your poison.
No, Jill, and then
Go ahead. Have you already gone? No.
it's Jill, and then Felice.
Jeff, you put your light on for me.
I wasn't the next to Lois this year. I just wanted to articulate, and I know I've said it before, I did give you a low score on the budget, but it was based on the presented on time situation and all of the hiccups we've had, at least the last couple of years, that I've voted on a budget. And I would like us to get better at that exchange and feel like that we have more time to discuss that before it goes over to the county commission and have more time to respond if they don't accept it. But when it comes to creating a budget that meets the moment, I've said it over and over again, y'all have done a great job at focusing and tying how we spend where we spend our money to what our goals are. And you're always very clear about this is what we're asking for, and this is what goal we're trying to meet, and this is why we've asked for this, and this is the data that backs it up. And I always appreciate having that information and how clear you are on it. So the low score on the budget had more to do with the timeline than the actual appropriateness of the budget, because I've always felt like your team has put a lot of effort and time and in trying to be clear about what we're spending our money on and why. And I appreciate that.
I was going to say, I am a new board member, but I really appreciate the line of communication you have and the respect you all have given all of us, and I appreciate you all that much. And I would say overall, I've seen so many impressive things, especially I think the communication, the newsletters, being so organized and tying everything to our strategies, and your own self-evaluation was very helpful too and very organized. And so I appreciate that. And I just want to say, overall, I think it's a very good evaluation. So I don't know if the public realizes that it really was. So if you think about it, as far as the scale, it's between meeting expectations and being strong. So it really was a good evaluation, in my opinion.
Mr. King?
So I can honestly say I think I'm the only one that knows you from high school on up. And we have one employee, and you're the right man. So, good job.
Don't hold that against me from high school.
Uh-oh. All right. Any other discussion? So, need a motion? Oh, we don't have to, right? Just a discussion.
Good job.
We guess we'll keep you to 2025. No, I'm just playing. Just playing. Now, we have information only. Students have a half a day tomorrow, so if you're a parent, pick up your kids so the teachers can go home. No, I'm just playing. No, but students have half a day of school tomorrow. I need to be telling myself that. December the 23rd through January 3rd is winter break. January 6th through January 7th is professional development days. And our next board meeting is January the 16th, right here in the boardroom. That concludes this meeting. Merry Christmas. Well, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all those things. Happy New Year. We will see y'all in 2025.